Put a kettle on and watch it closely. At first, nothing seems to happen. Then the faintest tremble in the surface. A whisper becomes a hiss. Steam beads, gathers, and lifts. You might think you are waiting for time to pass, but what you actually encounter in that kitchen is heat rising and water shifting states. You never touch time, you only touch change. We have a habit of speaking as if time were a physical medium, a river that carries everything along. But time functions as a ruler. It is a tool we use to mark the sequence, duration, and speed of the changes we see around us. Thousands of years ago, thinkers from vastly different traditions, like Stoics in Greece and Buddhists in India, converged on a remarkably similar insight. They realized events arise and pass, causes create effects, and bodies transform. They saw that change is the actual bedrock of reality. When we say that took a long time, we are using a shorthand to track a dense chain of those changes. Moving time from the basement of reality into the human toolkit of understanding directly alters our relationship to modern anxiety. When you treat time as a description of change rather than a container you are trapped inside, your attention shifts toward what is actually happening right now, the arising of a thought, the surge of a mood, or the heat of a kettle. For the ancient Stoics, anything that had the power to act or be acted upon had to be a physical body. They classified time as an incorporeal. It doesn't push events forward. It is merely the interval or the structural stretch of motion. If nothing moved or changed, there would be nothing to count, and the very concept of a span of time would have no basis in reality. Across the world, early Buddhist traditions reached a similar conclusion through the lens of impermanence. They observed that whatever arises eventually ceases. To them, the world is a web of causal conditions where things constantly configure and dissolve. Objects don't travel through a timeline. They are evolving configurations sustained by present conditions. Some Buddhist scholars pushed this into a concept called momentariness. They argued that what exists does so only for a brief flash before giving rise to the next condition. To explain how we experience this, they used the analogy of a firebrand spinning in the dark. If you spin it fast enough, you perceive a solid, continuous ring of fire. But that persistence is a trick of the mind, stitching together a rapid succession of vanishing flashes. These ancient traditions deflate time to treat the same psychological illness. They recognize that human suffering often comes from the illusion of persistence, our tendency to cling to states, objects, and identities as if they are permanent, when they are actually just sequences of temporary activity. Both schools refuse to make time the floor of reality. Because of that, they both point to the exact same spot to do the actual work of living, the present. They do have their differences.
Stoics place deep trust in the logos, the concept of a rational, law-like cosmic order that we can align ourselves with. Buddhists, on the other hand, are wary of turning any grand cosmic order into a comfort object, warning that humans will eagerly turn even a beautiful story about the universe into a new handle for attachment and grasping. Yet for both, the present is the primary site of practice. It is not a stationary brick moving down a fixed timeline. It is an interface. It is the active workshop where impressions arrive, where judgments are formed, and where your life gets edited in real time. The present serves as the exact location where causation and agency become actionable. For the Stoic, it is where you take responsibility for your ascent. For the Buddhist, it is where you notice cravings arise and choose to let them pass. It is where you stop outsourcing your life to a fictional past or an imagined future. We live in an era where presence has become a form of medicine. We suffer from a pervasive, low-grade dissatisfaction because we spend our days living inside a mental lattice of clock time, replaying what should have been said and pre-suffering what might happen next. We mistake the calendar for the living process. This anxiety stems from treating past and future like physical rooms. We act as if the past is a courtroom to repair old mistakes, and the future is a destination where we can finally feel secure. But regret is an attempt to relive what survives only as traces, and worry is an attempt to inhabit what exists only as dispositions. This image shows an early atomic clock apparatus. Even our most precise instruments are not detecting a flowing substance called time.
They are counting regular cycles, like the predictable vibrations of a cesium atom. The clock is a metronome. It tracks and compares rates of physical change. Staying in the present is an act of realism. It accepts that beneath every dial and ticking second hand, there is only the measurable pulse of changing physical conditions. It recognizes that life is a river of process, not mere snapshots on a timeline. The modern synthesis of Changism suggests that change is the base fact, and time is the derived ledger. In this view, time is a layer within change. It is the bookkeeping system we construct to organize the underlying activity of reality. This framework remaps time. The past exists entirely as records, surviving right now as memory traces. The future exists right now as dispositions, the potentials built into the present. The present is the ongoing activity where records and dispositions transform. The ultimate goal is to drop the timeline entirely. By seeing time as a ledger and change as the reality, we stop trying to possess the now like a spiritual collectible. We move from being victims of running time to being competent participants in the ongoing making of differences. We stop worshiping the present and start living in change.